Susie's Courtyard with my very, very special guest, Jacques Brix. And the title of this short episode is A French Kiss in California. And the reason we're calling it that, we are not here to talk about French wines. We are here to discuss the French people as an influence on California. They've kissed our industry from a very long time ago. The French first immigrated here in the 1850s and have a very, very strong influence. And Jacques is the French.
I wasn't here in the 1850s. I may look like it, but no, I wasn't.
Now, my French is absolutely terrible, so I will not pronounce anything French correctly. So you do all the French talk.
Sure. I'll translate for you. I even translate my last name, Brix.
Brix.
I did look what that comes from, by the way.
Well, and interestingly, Jacques' last name is Brix, which is our measurement of sugar for picking grapes, and it's just a coincidence, correct?
Absolutely, and it's what 1 gram per 1,000 grams per liter or something like this, whatever. It's percentage of sugar, which then will turn into alcohol sooner or later after you work with it. Right?
That's right. So, listen, I want to go to the heart of your background because I find it fascinating. So, tell me, and I'm not talking about the stories I know. I'm talking about the actual
We won't
French
talk about
background.
those. Okay, got it. Okay.
But so you are what is your actual title with the French consulate or the French wine industry?
Some people call me a vice consul, but I'm not a consul at all. But I am the president of the Association of French Wine Executive USA. Self-proclaimed president, might as well. Started 10 years ago because French people have a tendency not to gather outside of their country. You know, they say that there's a reason why I left the country. It's not to be with other French people. So I said, well, that's kind of too bad since French industry is, like you said, is very old, but it's not for making just wine. It's also having equipment, the tractors, the presses, the coopers.
So it's truly amazing how huge the French people have influenced our industry. As Jacques said, the cooperage, the tractors. But what I think Jacques has done pretty amazingly has brought all of the French together, and you're almost like their social chairman. Really?
That's one word they use, yes.
Well, but you also bring people from different areas of one industry, and I know that everybody is always very happy when they get to be together, and they're not even necessarily discussing the wine industry. I think they're enjoying being with expats and colleagues, and
exactly.
You've done an amazing job of that.
Well, that's it was something needed because I've been in high tech all my life. So 15 years ago, decided that since I'm French, so I'm supposed to know everything about wine. Since my last name means something in the wine business, I might as well get into it. So, and most French people here, like I said, we're not talking to each other. So, talking to the French consulate, they said, well, we're here for high tech. Most French people, about 70,000 people in high tech in Silicon Valley. And we're here to help import French wines. Well, I'll say, well, I've been in the U.S. 40 years. I'm more interested in American wines, and in particular, California, since that's where I live. So we started that, and we have 2 luncheons a year, that's all. And I cook.
Yeah, I bet they're really big luncheons.
They're pretty big, but you're right that after a while I decided that, everybody in wine, but where's the food? So we now have the Marine French Cheese Company, that's part of it. We have a bunch of people that make pâté, saucisson, and so on. So, and bread now, new companies.
So there's no question that the food is fabulous. And we're going to get to the heart of the number one question I think people would want to know. What type of wines do you like, Jacques?
Well, of course, you got to start with Selby Chardonnay, right?
Yes, of course. He actually does love my Chardonnay.
I do love it, yeah.
Which?
Chardonnay is really one of my favorite, but I used to really like Burgundies, the Pinot Noir on the red side, right? Chardonnay, of course, being the white part in there. And but less and less I don't like the astringency of the French Pinot Noir, but a good Zen, tough to beat.
Well, you've been a little California-ized since you've been out here.
Yes.
So-
Even when I lived in Texas, I would come here.
Yeah, it
quite
happens.
often.
It happens. So I want to get back to the French history. I find it very fascinating. So some of the named people from France who came here and had a huge impact on the industry, there of course is Georges de la Tour,
Mm-hmm.
and he hired André Telechev.
French-Russian.
Yes, and André was very famous. He was a French winemaker who smoked, and part of the crazy history is he had the most amazing palate of any winemaker in the history of winemaking, and he happened to be a smoker. But he and it sort of became a joke in the industry because people would, oh, you can smoke if André Telechev can do it, but. You know, he was an amazing man, and he had huge impact on a lot of wineries, and started in Napa, of course.
Yeah, and that we still hear about him, even though he's been gone for quite a while. And about the smoking, I remember that going to a winery in Napa, and I won't mention the name, but I go in there in the tasting room because I knew the owner, and I said, God, it smells like tobacco. It smells like a French bistro or something. And I said, well, is the winemaker there? I said, yeah, and then you could smell him before he came into the tasting room, and he was making white wines late harvest like Sauterne, style Chateau Yquem, that high end. And I did ask him, say, how can you taste with you smell like a ashtray. I didn't say that. But in French it sounds better, by the way.
Yeah, you say.
You sens comme un
you say you
cendrier.
smell like-
Oh, it sounds so good. No, anyway.
Remember that. When you say you smell like an ashtray in French, and it sort of sounds romantic, I bet.
Exactly.
That's
He didn't
perfect.
think so, but anyway. So say, well, you get used to it, and you can modify your taste bud to compensate for the other flavors.
Another, you know more about this than I do probably, but Domaine Chandon, that was huge for California. That was enormous. I think that was in the 70s.
Yes, when they came here, I don't know, except I know the winemaker who's been really doing a great job. But you have Chandon, you have Mum.
Oh yeah, Mum.
Yeah, and they say Moum in French. I say, Moum, what is that? It's, oh, Mum, okay. Yeah. Roderer
Oh yeah.
also is here.
Chateau Patel.
Chateau Patel being, but it's not a sparkling, so I thought we were talking
Oh,
about
no. Oh,
sparkling.
no,
but,
I was
but
just
Chateau
talking about
Patel,
anything.
yeah, and his VGS. Oh, is that right? There's a cat in the house, in the yard.
My cat just got out. This is like. This is like.
Say, wow, the French sounds so good, see?
I know. The chat. There's now a struggle.
So the VGS,
Excuse me.
French humor,
Here,
of course.
here you go.
There
Okay.
you go. Good.
Sorry, we do care about our animals
I know.
here. This is
So
what
Chateau,
happens in
yeah,
the
Chateau
courtyard.
Patel had a wine called VGS, which sounds, wow, what is, can we say the word S-H-I-T? Very good shit.
Yes, you can say
Sounded
that word.
sophisticated. Everybody thought it was a big French name. Wow. No, it means very good shit. Okay.
Now I want to go back to you, Jacques, because there are a lot of things about you that are interesting, and of course the big thing you're known for in the wine industry is that you're the publisher, editor of. You're involved with Wine Business Monthly.
I'm letting you
You've
get
had,
into
well, you've had a big role. We have a trade publication called Wine Business Monthly, and it's sort of the wine Bible for real information on the wine industry and trends and things that are happening.
Yes, with the Wine Business Month, I'm vice president of international relations.
Okay, I knew it was big and important.
Yeah, I know, and everybody
Like-
that knows me has said, ooh, that sounds like a great BS job. I said, well, better than nothing, right? So, Wine Business Monthly is a combination of Wines and Vines, which was the oldest publication in North America, 100 years old, and we kind of merged it with Wine Business Monthly. These are business-to-business communication publications. So it's only read by winemakers, winery owners, vineyard managers, and so on, people in the business. It is not a wine spectator that has, you know,
Yeah,
three
they're
million.
not reviewing wines.
Yeah, we're
you're,
not.
You're in the business of wine.
Exactly.
Which is
Now, one of the
completely
great things, though, is that people thought we were in the reviewing wine, so our offices were full of cases of wine that people would send us. So every Friday afternoon, we'd have a little tasting of all these wines. So that's a very good part. I mean, we also publish, like you said, the Bible of the wine industry in January that has the names of everybody in the wine business, you know, in North America. So it's Canada, Mexico, and the U.S.
Well, and really that publication has brought the industry together. You know, the business of wine is the most important part of it. Making the wine is fun. Selling the wine, you know, is everything. But the business of wine is hard, and most people come out to the wine country and they figure it out on their own. That's what I did because it was so long ago, and I don't think prior to your publication really coming together as it did, none of us had resources. You know, I would call a neighbor, or you know, I have all these textbooks on winemaking that were written in the 90s or something like that. And so when all of this happened, we finally had a way to have resources. And thanks to Jacques, we also had access to a really fun party.
Love that, absolutely. So yeah, I've always been big on education, but you know, I have nothing to do with the editorial. So we have tremendous journalists, writers, and they're the one that create the magazine. There's no question about it. But we also have, you know, the chairman and I knew each other before I joined the company, and our background is database management systems. So we also have all, like I said, all the data about everybody who's in the business. And if you're a barrel maker and you're trying to find all the wineries that are doing Chardonnay because you have a barrel that goes specifically for Chardonnay, you can go in our database and find it.
And that's a big thing.
And that is a big thing. So
and we were an island in a very competitive industry by ourselves. It was sort of like we're in our own raft and the sharks are circling, and you know,
they all are. Yes.
But you know, the wine industry is very romantic, very fun. It's art, science, and nature. But you know, we've got to have some basis that keeps us stable. And I also think during this pandemic, we have resources, even to know what trends are in marketing and things like that.
Yeah, and we spend a lot of time looking at that. We also have winejobs.com. So that's the major job finding, you know, software, and 6 months before the recession, winejobs.com tanked. I mean, that's a big revenue for us. It tanked to zero. 6 months before the recession, 10 years ago.
Are you talking about in 2008?
In 2008. So we knew it before, and the same thing when it came back,
So you
because the jobs are disappearing.
Yeah, because you see
Way
trends.
before. So it's so that's also a part, and I'm trying to do with the French side to help. You know, it already exists. There's quite a few sites in France where you can find jobs, but the world is different there. You know, French people, when they come here, I like to meet with them and talk about them. When I came here 40 years ago, the first thing I learned is to use deodorant.
Oh my God.
Sounds funny, but it wasn't.
You know what? We have so much to thank you for. Don't we? That's
Now that's a
my
big,
God.
yes.
That's
I thank Jacques every day.
Yes. I tell you, we didn't use it, and primarily because our weather was very different. I mean, primarily that's the main thing. But so when I moved here, I was brought in by my wife.
brought in.
Well,
Sounds
because
like you're in a little cage or something.
well, certainly I had a one-way ticket.
Quarantine first?
Yes, I had a one-way ticket that my father-in-law bought me, and he said, oh, it's one way of Paris, Washington, D.C. He said, yeah, and if you want to go back, you're swimming, boy. I said, whoa, that is a long ocean. So, but she always used to say that was the cheapest souvenir she could bring from France at the time.
Oh, I love that. Oh, very nice.
I've never regretted it.
That's
40
cute.
years later, people ask me, would you like to go back to France, retire? I said, love to go there. I'm staying here.
Well, it's funny. I mean, I think the perception of, just as people perceive winemakers or winery owners as, sort of the glamorous lifestyle. When somebody from another country comes here, I think you automatically assume that, wow, it's so cool they're here, and you don't think about the fact that they come here and they need to meet friends, they need to meet about the culture, and there's a lot to be said for that. And at least now with this French group that you've formed, it gives everyone friends and a home when they get here.
Yeah, it's a forum and also not to lose our language, because after 20 years, in high tech, 30 years in high tech, my French was so bad. I mean, I really could. My sister, who lives in Paris, would say, "Oh, you speak like you're from the 70s." Well, that's where I came. That's when I came here, and the language has evolved.
Oh, were you saying groovy and stuff?
Well, that's exactly. And one of them
Was
is
it shagadelic?
yes. Well, yes. I think it's very appropriate. It seems to be 40 years old. Okay, never mind. So it's helping the French people here to remain connected to France, because they're all working here, and they love it here. And certainly the one live in the wine business. I mean, there's no better place on earth. Of course, sorry about people from Bordeaux and Burgundy, but our climate is just so fantastic.
Yeah, it is.
I did have a vineyard in Texas. I have to admit it, that at the time that I had a little bit of money, not too much.
And by the way, everybody, Texas is not a region in France.
Oh, yeah.
He's talking about the Texas.
I'm sorry.
He is talking about our Texas.
But Texas is bigger than France, size-wise.
Wow, that's pretty crazy.
That's pretty big. But there's a lot of 300 wineries now in Texas. I mean,
300?
300 wineries, and everything that is made in Texas is drunk.
I know.
They're
It's
very good
consumed.
wines.
It's consumed.
It's consumed.
So that's
Is that the wrong word?
all three of us are Texans at heart.
Well, yes,
I mean,
absolutely.
once you've been, your heart stays in Texas, and Texans are very loyal to their Texas wineries, and I honestly think that Texas is doing a fabulous job. And if anybody, I'll just do one quick shout out this way. Kim McPherson is the funniest winemaker I've ever met.
And he's from
a
Texas.
Texas winemaker. He's hilarious.
Is he outside of Austin?
He's in Lubbock. But
Ooh,
although
and-
I know, and I mean, we just don't have a lot of stand-up comedy types making wine in California, so I just have to give him a little kudos there.
Do the tumbleweeds get caught at the vines in Lubbock, Texas?
Well, most of them, usually when I would drive from Austin to Lubbock, I would rent a car and chase the tumbleweeds, just bang. Oh, that was a big one.
Isn't that crazy? They exist.
They do. They exist
There
in
really are
Lubbock.
tumbleweeds.
Yes. So,
Well,
and great wines made in Lubbock now. The
oh,
Saint
yeah, they're doing
Genevieve
a great job. Viognier?
and Viognier. I had some, Cabernet Franc, which was wow. It was actually very nice.
I know. They're doing a very good job.
It's good. And with the climate changing, but also all the varietals. I just received a bunch of emails from France from the, not ENA, but that certifies the grapes. And they have so many new varietals,
Oh, nice.
clones that are better for warmer climates.
Yeah.
So that's
So,
gonna
Gil,
help.
we've been able to take advantage of your long history of growing and climate and all of those things.
And the French people also have to thank you for the 1870s. Do you all remember something called phylloxera?
You know what? I wanted to bring that
Oh,
up.
you didn't want.
There's so many, my
Yes.
dad, who is not informed, I admit, my dad, our dad passed away a long time ago, but I think the way he used to describe it, and I never knew if this was accurate, but I think he used to say something like, the Americans saved the French asses, or something like that.
That's one version.
Okay, I know that that's not everything.
The other version is that
I know,
you
I
sent
remember
us some roots that had phylloxera in it,
Okay,
and
so-
our vines were not ready
Okay, so
for
tell
it.
me, so tell me what actually happened according to the French. We sent them something bad that we shouldn't have.
You sent,
so
you
we
sent,
caused the problem, and then we cleaned up.
and then 90+% of the vineyards in France are on American rootstock
Ah,
because
okay.
they resist to phylloxera.
so
Oh,
so it's
wow.
not true that we saved the French wine industry.
Well,
Should we talk about World
changed
Wars now?
yeah, because
Let's
now
talk
let me
about
tell
World
you about
Wars.
that. I said, okay, let's see, I'm going to shoot you, and then I'm going to
I
take the
know.
bullet out of you.
Okay.
Are you going to thank me for it?
I know.
I'm sorry, that was bad.
Okay, so phylloxera, I did want to ask
That's
about that. That's
yeah.
funny. No, it's true. We thank you so much, you and your country, for what you've done. Are you enjoying the Chardonnay?
Love the Chardonnay.
Yeah,
You know,
and we're just enjoying wine right now. Of course,
and it's,
with-
you know,
with
it's
Betsy.
warming up, which is, you know, I guess if I can make a statement on that, I've been getting too used to drinking my Chardonnay too cold.
Mhm.
And as they warm up, and I'm not too sure what, you know, if it's in the mid 60s, that's where the aromas really evaporate. They're so much better. And they call that Chambray in French. You know, the old French Chambray, which means room, like room temperature, because when you used to go in the cellar could have been at 40 degrees. Well, that's a bit too cold for everything. But when you Chambray, you bring it up and warm it up. It just, all the aromas, and you know a lot more than I do about
How
that.
are you spelling that?
Chambray is like a chamber. Same,
Oh,
same word.
Chambray. Oh,
Chambray.
Chambray.
Okay. So,
Did it a Spanish accent?
You did.
Sorry. I'm gonna sound really
hey,
cool.
Cinco de Mayo was yesterday. Although most
Yeah.
people I understand don't know
Yeah,
what that
maybe
is.
a little tequila still, perhaps.
Yeah, the French didn't get their rear end kicked on the Cinco de Mayo. That was I didn't know that.
What did you
The
say?
French army got kicked by the Mexican on Cinco de Mayo. That's the whole thing.
They did?
Yes,
Did they
they
get dirt kicked in their face or something?
I don't know if they drank too much or
Were there
whatever.
mules
But I think they came back and did something. So I don't know the story, but those of you, email us or call us and tell us what the true story is.
You
Then-
mean, so the French were somehow involved in the
Yes,
whole
they were
Cinco
here.
de
I
Mayo?
remember Louisiana. That was a
Remember
very
Louisiana?
Louisiana Purchase.
Yes.
You know, remember with a stupid French that was sold it for $5 or something?
Yeah.
And it was Louisiana used to be like a third of the U.S. I think. It was huge.
Wow.
And this guy sold it. I don't know what he did with the money.
So the French did not invent the hurricane.
No.
No, well, probably we thought about it. Said, yeah, maybe it's time to get out of it. I don't know if they had it at the time.
I was talking about the drink.
Yes. Oh, there.
The drink.
The drink.
The drink.
Oh, see where your mind is. Okay.
Now, one
All
of the
right,
things
go back.
I want to touch on because you're so talented at this. You are an amazing master gardener.
Oh, I am so good at gardening.
You
My
are.
wife does not agree.
You can build a great fence, too.
I can I can do a lot of manual things. I love manual things.
You're
You
good.
know what?
You're a beautiful garden.
And my father was a stone sculptor, so I just learned, and he also had his own orchard. So I learned the love of it. Look at the beautiful little, and what I love, it's in the spring
Oh my gosh.
to see the little, yeah, isn't that gorgeous?
Oh
And
my
they
gosh,
eat all the
that's
bugs.
Beautiful.
So, yeah, everything's growing there.
Was that a lizard in your garden?
It's a lizard. There are hundreds this year.
Wow.
They just, I don't know what happened, and, but they all came out and they just go outside my office, they go there, then the squirrels come in, then the wild turkeys come in, and then the other birds come in, and then the coyote comes in, and
then
they're all gone. Then you have a bunch of feathers left.
No foxes.
What a great country, huh? Something for everybody.
We do live in a beautiful place. Wow, I love your garden. Do you have vegetables as well?
Well, that's what it is. It's onions, garlic, whatever you want. Tomatoes. That's the time of tomatoes. Love that time. I was talking to a friend of mine in Austin 2 weeks ago. He said, "Oh, I've already harvested half of my tomatoes. We just planted ours, so it's not much hotter." But then they quit somewhere around July there. It's too
Well, it's pretty funny because even in California, the different valleys have different vegetable cycles as well, which is funny. I mean, as you know, cool climate is Russian River Valley, so where we have Chardonnay and Pinot that does well in a cooler climate, but the vegetable gardens follow the same path as the
Absolutely, yeah.
grape. So you're in Dry Creek Valley, where you live.
Yeah, we're in Dry Creek where I currently live. Yeah. Otherwise, we're here. Here, Hillsburg is what the?
Russian River.
It's Russian River.
The
Yeah.
Hillsburg Avenue divides Dry Creek from Russian River.
Okay, got it. Yeah, I saw our house here is on Russian River. Got it. So yeah, and as a matter of fact, I did bring a little prop here, just something that in France was primarily a Christmas gift.
Oh.
An orange that I picked from our tree here. And 40 years living in this country, every time I pick an orange, I say, wow. I would dream, I used to dream about going to a country where I could grow my
Oh
oranges.
my gosh, I love that. Oh,
That's
you're taking the orange back? I'm sorry.
But you said you would give it as a Christmas gift?
Yes, that's what we'd get. And I used to get
gosh.
oranges and then a
I
whip,
love this.
because I had been a bad boy.
Oh, no coal, just whips.
Wow.
Yeah, coal was nothing, didn't mean anything to us, but un fouet, un martinet, it's called a martinet. So it's with a wooden handle this long, and then the leather straps, or what you call them, there are like 20 of them, only they're short and never really hurt bad, but it was,
Oh, you're serious.
Oh, yes, I am. One year I got a martinet and 2 oranges.
Wow. No, we're reliving your.
You see why I
That's why
turned
you
so
moved
bad?
here.
Well, and these are off your tree.
Off the tree, and that's
That's
for me. It is
lovely.
just like unbelievable. And no seeds, and just wow, how can it be? Now the other thing that did surprise me coming to California in particular, from after I started learning about the wine business, because like most French people, we have no clue about the wine business. Go to France and ask somebody, do you know what varietal is in a Bordeaux? They wouldn't have a clue. They wouldn't know it's a Cabernet Sauvignon, Merlot.
You're
They would-
saying in France?
in France, they would
Wow.
know. Probably more than 90% wouldn't know.
That's surprising. to
But they
hear.
would know Billy Bob, that they've been buying wine for the last 40 years.
They know they like it.
They know they like it,
It's the
and
most
that's
important
it.
thing. of
So
course.
here we're just so ingrained in saying, oh, it's a Zinfandel from Dry Creek Valley, from that block. There, it's the appellation, which is in the definition, AVA, so it's American Viticultural Area, right?
Yes.
So that designates a location, right? You're growing your grapes in that location, you can call it Russian River, Dry Creek Valley. In France, the appellation is much more complicated than that.
France is so complicated.
It gets very complicated because it is not just the location, it's also the land, what's in the land, what's the weather on the average is, what they dictate to have that AVA. They dictate the kind of grapes you can grow, when you can pick them, because, and most Americans are being said, well, what a bunch of, they're paying and how do they control it? I said, well, let me tell you, because I'd say, well, why they don't want us to call, champagne. I said, you're absolutely right. You know what? I'm going back to France, to my village, and I'm going to start in Napa Cabernet. How about that? Would you like that? Well, the Napa folks, oh, well, you can't do that.
Well, yeah,
That's the
and,
same
and
thing.
The French have done a wonderful job of assuring that the correct grapes are in the regions that they have deemed
By trial and
best
error.
for that varietal.
Yes, yeah.
But the other thing that's interesting is that the food sources are also, like duck confit, for instance, or there are regions for different. There are regions for different foods.
Absolutely, and the wines really followed that. So the food was there first, and then the wines, the wines we drank, not as kids, because we didn't really drink wine till we were like 18 years old. Scotch, on the other hand, we popped it earlier than that.
Sneaking into the
It's
cabinet.
just sneaking into the But so we drank very local wines, and they're very, very acidic, 12% alcohol. The high end was 12, usually 11%. And but they went great with the food. Would they be great wines to take to a tasting? No.
So we are at the end of this exciting
No,
30
already?
minute.
I have so much more to
I
say.
know you have a lot to
kidding.
say.
Oh, but I did bring another prop, by the way.
Oh,
I brought another prop
Oh,
before
what is
finish
it?
because probably very few people would know what a Chateau Chalon is. Chateau Chalon is a wine that is aged 6.5 years minimum
Now this is worth going over for,
in a
guys.
in a barrel, and it's never filled. So that by the time 6.5, 7 years, they take it out and there's 1/3 has evaporated, and on the top of the barrel there's a floor that has developed, so it's like a sherry at the end.
Oh my gosh.
But So it comes in 50 centiliters. Chateau Chalon is its own appellation by itself. It's from the Jura Mountain only, great and grown with Savagnin grape, which makes, I should be careful about what I say, because it makes okay wines. But this is almost not drinkable because it's very dry sherry. But you make a sauce with chicken and morels and cream, and you put half a cup of that in there, and it's 1 + 1 = 3.
Yeah.
It is so
What are you
good.
making it for, Jacques?
Well, this is what I have left. Yes, that's enough for probably 10 people.
Well, and
Anyway.
I think that description honestly sums up the French attitude and feeling about wine and food and life.
And life.
So, wow,
Thank you for
being
for
here.
all of us being here. Certainly for me being here. I
Yeah,
appreciate it.
and we obviously we take this pandemic very seriously, and the entire world is in this together. And so Jacques and I thought it would be fun to represent, France and the United States, and just tell all of you to stay healthy.
And France, by the way, is exactly the same. Now they have huge fines if you're outside within 2 kilometers of your house without a specific purpose.
Yeah.
It's everywhere. But things are smoothing out, reopening
That's right.
slowly, and the world will come back.
Yeah, stay home, stay safe, and
And let's drink to that.
yes, exactly.